Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday evening. Hope you guys have had a great day so far and having a great weekend as we're about to wrap it up and head on to our work week. In this video, really what we're going to discuss is the weather for the last week of April. Talk about what could happen over the next few days. And I'm eyeing a storm system towards the end of the week that could be impactful. I mentioned last night that things were slowing down, and I think relatively things are going to be pretty slow. But I do think there's going to be a cutoff low probably late this work week that could impact areas in the middle of the country again for a little bit of severe weather. So that might be another topic we latch on to really here in the next couple of days. But I'm going to briefly mention that in the video and really just talk about some weather to round off your last week of April and break down what could happen over the next several days. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button, guys. It goes a long ways when, there really just isn't a lot to talk about, kind of like right now. And I expect periods like this until we start to get a little bit closer to hurricane season and have the tropics to really discuss. But it's been a really nice weekend here in the Southeast, very warm, warmest overall weekend of the entire year so far, and I've been outside almost all the time throughout the day, so it's been really nice. So if you guys got anything I can pray about, definitely put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives a whole lot of other people an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rolling here and discuss what we can. Right now, between now and tomorrow morning, there is a marginal and areas of a slight risk, level 2 out of 5. I'm expecting down here in this area of Texas some supercells to get fired up. Large hail will be the biggest threat. The tornado risk is actually dropped. And then there's a small area right here where you got to watch out for a little bit more in the category of severe weather in this little small yellow area where some storms could fire up, maybe a hail threat. And within the next hour, maybe 2, maybe 3 hours here just around Dallas and just north and just well south of Oklahoma City. And then we're still watching this region over the next hour or two. But really the biggest threat with this is hail, especially down here. There's probably going to be a big supercell or two in this range that could really produce in the weather community what we call gorilla hail when we have a very large hail pushing, golf ball to baseball size hail. So definitely be careful if you're in this part of the Texas a little bit later this evening. I really think this will be more of an overnight thing. And then this area too, watch out. Some big hailers probably here in the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 hours just north of Dallas is definitely possible. But rain is a real issue right now. You're getting too much of it, especially in areas just southeast of Oklahoma City and Tulsa. You got training of rain, which means basically you got rain going over the same area continuously. Convection keeps on firing up along a boundary that's not necessarily stalled or just not moving. It is just drifting east and southeast very slowly. So you just got continuous convection showers and storms firing up over this area. And if you look at radar scope right now, this is Oklahoma City, Tulsa. Just southeast of the city, a lot of rain falling just north of Dallas. You just got, got a report right here. I'm pushing the wrong icon. But anyways, that's a report of some flooding going on, a little bit of river flooding. So just be careful in this region. If you're driving out and about between Oklahoma City and Dallas, you just got a lot of rain that's been falling throughout the afternoon hours and will continue to do so throughout the evening hours. So be careful for any commutes that you're doing later this evening for sure. Tomorrow, there is a risk for severe weather, just a large marginal risk as this basically boundary, this cold front continues to inch eastward, and therefore the area of severe weather is right here. But I don't think it's going to be significant at all. I think the biggest risk you're going to have is maybe some small areas of hail you got to watch out for any individual storms that can try to get going. But really the biggest threat overall is probably damaging winds. But even that, there's not even a 15% risk of damaging winds anywhere of 25 miles in a given point. Just got a large 5% risk. So definitely a big time marginal risk. That's a level 1 out of 5. Definitely not even close to any kind of outbreak of severe storms at all. But let's take a look at the ARRR model throughout the next few hours, and you will continue to see rain in this area, and more convection will fire up here in central and north central Texas and will continue to ride over the same areas in southeast Oklahoma, but gradually drift east. A lot of rain will be falling in northwest Arkansas into the overnight hours, into wee hours in the morning, and then the heavy rain will move into southeast Missouri, and then the rain will drift, showers and storms will drift into central Arkansas and start to flirt with areas of southern Illinois. But mean, look at if you back this up a couple hours, move closer to midnight, some big time supercells could potentially get going way down here in Texas. But I tell you what, they don't look as potent as they did when I made the video this morning. Definitely nothing too crazy. Watch out for a little bit of snow overnight. Even out areas outside the Rocky Mountains could get going. Maybe a band or two of snow could develop here off the Rocky Mountains here in the Front Range. So be careful in that area, but nothing substantial at all. It might drift into areas of New Mexico and places like that. But as we're getting into the morning hours, I'll go on and switch panels here in a second. But you see the showers and storms. You're waking up to probably a rainy commute, maybe even a rumble of thunder, flash of lightning in Memphis, Tennessee. And then you just got some storms moving into eastern Texas, and then some storms into western Tennessee and western areas of Kentucky. And then you're switching over to the eastern U.S. as a whole here, and you continue throughout the morning hours, just some showers and storms that might break up here in this area. But, watch out Louisiana tomorrow. I think that as you're getting into lunchtime, the afternoon hours, I think that it's going to be really messy. A lot of showers, a lot of storms, damaging wind will be the biggest threat, and then even some flooding. A flooding risk will be there tomorrow across Louisiana and far eastern areas of Texas. Just a stormy day if you're in Louisiana for sure. And this will drift into areas like New Orleans and then southern sections of Mississippi later in the evening hours. And then watch out up here in Ohio. Ohio, you could have some thunderstorms for sure tomorrow, and then even all the way up into northwest areas of PA. And then watch out Buffalo, New York could have some storms tomorrow, and then areas of western New York throughout the evening hours. We'll see some showers and storms tomorrow for sure. And then we start to get into overnight Monday into Tuesday. And then we watch. I would not be surprised as we're getting into Tuesday. See this area as this trough continues to sag, this cold front with this energy still associated with it continues to move. And you're going to get some intense heating here in the Carolinas Thursday afternoon. Very quick, intense heating. It might be the warmest day of the year in certain areas in the Carolinas. And I think that you might have a slight risk introduced for Tuesday, not tomorrow, but for Tuesday. Already the last frame, 48 hours out, this goes through about 2 p.m. Eastern time here in the southeast. You can see some pretty intense storms developing. And I think with some steep lapse rates in place and just some cold, some dry air starting to filter in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, I think you could definitely have some damaging winds and some small hail with these storms. So watch out. The Carolinas, maybe even areas of Georgia, maybe even Virginia could see a stormy day. Potentially for Tuesday afternoon. It'll be cool for somebody who likes weather, who likes the storms, because I don't anticipate it being an outbreak of severe storms. So it just might be an interesting day just to watch for some classic thunderstorms. It's almost like a midsummer kind of pattern with this setup. So be careful out there Tuesday. But after that, I'll show you what could potentially happen. But as far as temperatures, we'll take a look at the GFS. Monday, very warm, all the way up into New Hampshire, Vermont, New York State, the entire state reaching the 60s and 70s, unless you're in the real higher peaks of New York State, the Appalachian Mountains. But the way the winds are pushing through here, unfortunately, areas like Boston, Cape Cod, where the waters are still very cold up here. Long Island, if you're getting winds coming off the ocean, they're coming inland, off the ocean, then you guys are probably going to stay a little nippy, where if you just go, probably several miles inland, you're well into the 50s and 60s and almost 70s in areas of southern New England. But, in general, down to PA, the Delmarva area, Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia, you're starting to get into the 60s and 70s and 80s for highs. The Carolinas, the 80s, deep south, the 80s. But you can see where the boundary's setting up, where some cooler air, a late season cold front, weaker cold front starting to influence the weather. And I really think as you're getting into your Monday, it's going to cool back down for sure. Then you're getting into Tuesday, and I think some big time heating will occur down here in the Carolinas and Florida. I think there will be widespread and an occasional 90-degree reading or two here all the way, maybe even in the North Carolina, South Carolina, especially the eastern sections of South Carolina, Georgia. And there definitely will be some 90-degree readings in Florida for sure, but definitely 80s widespread. But you see the cooler air right nearby. Northern Alabama, rain-cooled air. And then Tennessee for sure. Cooler air starting to move through. And then you start to get into Wednesday. and the cooler air moves through, more stable air, and then you probably have a little bit more of like a spring day across areas of the southeast. But look at this big cool now for Wednesday for the Northeast and the Great Lakes region and portions of the Ohio Valley, where you only got 40s, maybe even just 30s for highs. So uncomfortable weather settles in again. I got a loyal viewer up here in the areas of northern Michigan. Looks like the chill is coming back midweek, unfortunately for you, buddy. But fortunately, heating a big time ridge in the middle of the country begins to build again. So, you don't stay very cool for very long in portions of the middle of the country. But I tell you what, this is going to be a unfortunate cool down for areas of the Northeast and the areas in the Mid-Atlantic, where I think you guys could get quite chilly. I'm talking about sub-freezing low temperatures here in PA, the entire state of Pennsylvania, points northeast, and then West Virginia, even into Virginia. You guys could get well into the 30s. I don't think the cold front influences enough here in the deep south to where you guys will have any frost risk. But 40s and 50s for lows here for your Thursday morning. Cool back down. And I think eventually, spring air will eventually warm up, win out here. And I think the temperatures recover. But there's going to be a big time boundary here in the Ohio Valley. It's going to be stretching from the northwest to the southeast, and basically wherever you are on this boundary. If you're south of it, you're getting into the 60s, 70s, even 80s down here in the south. But if you're north of it, only 50s and 40s for high temperatures, and it just depends on where it sets up. But as you get into your Friday, another chilly morning in the northeast, 20s, 30s for lows, and then we start to get into Friday, and it starts to warm up in the northeast. And then just a nice, it's going to be more like a summer beginning to this to the last week of April, to the beginning of the week. But then the last part of the week, I think it'll feel more like spring with some more stable, crisp air moving through for sure. But let's continue. For my folks out west, I don't want to forget about you. We'll breeze through this pretty quickly, but we're getting into looks like our new GFS is coming in, but we're getting into the lunchtime GFS, where that's the one we're going to have to look at here. We're getting into Sunday, then we get back into Monday. Man, this thing is moving slower than molasses. And, you're going to be pretty warm, pretty average, this time of the year for this sections of the East. But moving through the week, I don't see anything substantially compared to average. I really don't. You're going to remain kind of chilly, especially I think Tuesday will be a chilly day across the Pacific Northwest. So, prepare for that if you're in Oregon and Washington State, especially. And then as this cutoff low starts to influence this weather out here, I think in general it'll start to warm up across the western U.S. for sure. As you're getting into your Friday. But there is going to be some chilly mornings for sure. It's just the changing of the seasons. But when you have these upper troughs that kind of move through the western U.S., it cools you all back down. But nothing too substantial at all. But as far as temperatures compared to average out there, in general, I think probably this coming week, I think it'll probably be in general a tad bit below average out west for sure. So just prepare for that, unless you're in the Southwest, then I think you guys will remain around average to just above average temperature wise. But really, the next thing we're watching here is as we're moving into the middle of the week, late part of the week. See this low pressure right here? This gets cut off in the mainstream of energy, and it turns into a cutoff low. And then you see a disturbance right here. Cutoff lows tend to bring their own cold air. They bring their own moisture. Not literally their own moisture, but they do some crazy things. They can bring some dynamic weather. They can bring heavy rain. They can bring severe weather. And they can bring snow too. And you see this here in Nebraska. See this area of blue right here? Dynamic cooling taking place here in South Dakota and Nebraska. Some snow showing up for the last couple days of April. But this will pivot across the middle of the country. And then with it, it'll yank up probably some moist air from the Gulf. And here it is. You look at Friday, you're getting into Friday during the day, and look at these dew points rising into the 60s all the way into Iowa and Nebraska. So you're going to have maybe a window of a day and a half where you have some moist air in this area. And what other dynamics do you have in place? There's not a whole lot of reason to really break this down much because confidence is low. The Storm Prediction Center doesn't even really mention anything about it. It just says predictability too low. It talks about it, so I won't say it doesn't mention it, but there's no risk area set up yet. But we'll watch this little cutoff low, and you can see it really well here as it gets cut off in the mainstream. You see this big blob of blue right here. So we'll kind of watch that, see what that's going to do as it just kind of meanders in the middle of the country and probably affects a lot of people weather-wise for a few days as normally cutoff lows normally do throughout the country here. So I'm running out of breath here. You guys have a great evening. That's pretty much all I got. I'll have you a Monday update tomorrow weather-wise, but we'll continue to try to latch on to topics. But at the same time, I don't want to talk you guys to death about, if there's just not a lot to talk about, then I'll just come up here and discuss maybe the next day or two. So we'll figure it out going forward, and let's just enjoy this quiet weather because it's the weather, and it's the only thing we got. And, it's eventually going to pick up again and get crazy again, especially in the times we're in. So God bless all y'all. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll talk to y'all in the morning.